Before we bring out the family, I want to start with Donald Trump. Thanks very much for being with us.
Thank you.
Big day for you. You've gotten some very good news. You were certified today the winner of the Missouri primary. Means you picked up another 12 delegates. Good. Two great polling numbers for you. The New York one, Brooke College poll, 60% in New York, way ahead of all the other candidates, and even the Quinnipiac poll, I think, had you around 55%.
Great.
Again, way ahead. So you've got some good news. You have been very critical, though, of what happened in Colorado. And I want to read out some of the things you have said. You said the nominating system in Colorado was, quote, rigged, disgusting, and dirty. You called it a corrupt deal full of crooked shenanigans. Ted Cruz is saying you're just being a whiner. I mean, the bottom line is the rules are the rules. Didn't you just get outplayed on the ground?
No, I don't think so. Look, first of all, I watched Ted Cruz, and I watched him very strongly say, well, he's been winning. But, I've won 22 states, and he's won 10. And we're really way up on votes, in terms of the voters, which to me is very important, but it's never talked. I'm millions of votes ahead of him. And as you know, I'm hundreds of delegates ahead of him. But the Colorado thing was very, very unfair. And I thought Louisiana was very unfair. I won Louisiana. I won it easily.
So you won the popular vote.
I won the popular vote, and
because
because of all this shenanigans that goes on. And this
but
is
you call them shenanigans. Those are the rules. And didn't you know those?
You know why
rules?
the rules? I know the rules very well, but I know that it's stacked against me by the establishment. I fully understand it. We had people out there, and they weren't heard. And then, in fact, today, when it was announced, the numbers were announced, they put out something on Twitter saying, oh, we stopped Trump. Essentially, we stopped Trump. We stopped. That was put out by the party in Colorado. The point is, it was stacked against us. Now,
but
we've won our
more
share.
Aggressively, you could have had a better organization on the ground. A lot of the folks.
I don't know if it would have mattered because it was totally set in stone, and that's the way it was. And you saw Republicans that wanted to go and wanted to be Trump delegates, and they're burning their card on the internet. There were some people that were fantastic.
A lot of time, he had a lot of organization going out, reaching out to people who wanted to be delegates to run in the process. I mean, it was a whole electoral process to get delegates.
But Anderson, we had delegates there. We had a lot of delegates, and they were not heard because the Republican Party out there was 100% probably controlled by the RNC, which maybe doesn't like this happening because I'm a self-funder. I'm putting up my own money. They don't like when I put up my own money because it means they don't have any control of me because I'm working for the people. I'm doing for the people. And, when you talk about winning, I've won most of it, and I'm not complaining. And frankly, there were a couple that I won that he's complaining about. But I won, I've been winning far more than anybody else.
You talk about the RNC. Reince Priebus, head of the RNC, tweeted yesterday, he said, quote, the rules were set last year. Nothing mysterious, nothing new. The rules have not changed. The rules are the same. Nothing different.
Anderson, they changed the rules a number of months ago. The people in...
About 8 months ago.
Well, it's not very long ago.
But you had a lot of time to prepare
a better organization.
You know why they changed the rules?
Because they saw how I was doing, and they didn't like it. Same thing in Florida. Now, I won Florida in a landslide, right? But they changed the rules so that the winner gets all because they thought Jeb Bush was going to win. He's the former governor, or Marco Rubio was going to win. And then all of a sudden the first poll came out and Trump was leading by a lot. And they said, what are we going to do? What are we going to do? Because that was done so that I wouldn't get any delegates. Then I won in a landslide and I got all the delegates. So sometimes it works to my advantage. But Colorado is unfortunate because they disenfranchised the voters. They've disenfranchised all of these voters.
You're saying that you don't think the RNC wants you to get the nomination?
No, I don't think so. I really don't. I mean,
and you think they're actively working against you on the ground?
I don't know. I mean, I don't see it. It's not like I have 15 miles of proof. But certainly they should want to have a vote of the people of Colorado. The people of Colorado, I would have won. I've won so many of the votes. I mean, the voting has been phenomenal. That's why I've won so many more states than Ted Cruz and Kasich.
Does it say, though, something about, I mean, okay, you disagree with the process as it was in Colorado, but you had months to prepare. Does it say something, and your critics say it says something about your leadership ability? If you, for somebody who touts himself as somebody who's an organizational genius, who's created this amazing business organization, that you couldn't create an organization on the ground that could be Ted Cruz's organization?
Number one, I started with $1 million loan. I built a $10 billion company. It's a phenomenal company.
But it's a business organization the same as a political organization.
Well, a lot of similarities. In this case, I've won most of it. I mean, you can say about what about organization? Well, how come I'm leading by hundreds of delegates? How come I'm leading by millions of votes? Remember this. I was supposed to lose South Carolina. I was supposed to lose to Bush, New Hampshire. I was supposed to lose the entire South. I won virtually everything in the South. I look at your board. I mean, it's all my color, whatever that color is. I guess it's sort of a semi-purple. Not the nicest color, but that's okay. I don't complain about it. But I won the entire South. I won Florida. I could say they have a bad organization because Cruz was supposed to win Alabama, Arkansas. He was supposed to win Kentucky. He lost all of them. He lost Florida. The point is, I mean, if you talk about that, I can say, well, if my organization's not so good, how come I've won many more states than him and millions of votes more?
I just want to read you what Cory Gardner, who's a Republican senator from Colorado, said, because he's really annoyed at what you've been saying. He said, essentially,
he's a member of the establishment.
That you're insulting these delegates who ran, who are just regular people.
I'm insulting the system. The system is not a good system.
He says, how on earth are you going to defeat ISIS if you can't figure out the Colorado GOP convention?
Oh, we could figure it out, but it's stacked against us. I mean, you can have people that are totally against you. How come my people went there? Delegates, great delegates. They're all over the internet now burning up their Republican card. How come my people went there and they wouldn't
stacked against you?
Because the Republican Party in Colorado wanted Cruz. Or maybe they wanted somebody other than Trump. I don't think anybody really wants Cruz. Why would they want him? There's no reason to want him. But the Republican Party wanted somebody other than Trump. And you know, the funny thing, I am the only one that's going to beat Hillary Clinton, assuming she runs, assuming she gets out of her problem, which she probably will, because that's a system that's bad too. I'll give you another example, though. I'm no fan of Bernie Sanders, okay? I'm no fan at all. To me, he's, you know, forget it. But every time I turn on, he's winning. He's winning. Every week after week, he wins, he wins, he wins, he wins. And then I watch you, and I watch all of the pundits. They say, but he can't win. You know why? It's stacked against him. It really is. It's stacked against him. In his case, it's superdelegates. In my case, it's the obvious. But it's stacked against him.
You've said in the past that if you weren't being treated fairly, you'd consider a third-party run. Is that something that's still on the table?
Well, it's certainly not something I don't want to do. Look, I'm winning by a lot. You know, based on the numbers you just gave me for New York, I'm leading by more than 40 points.
You have a good chance picking up nearly all the delegates.
Yeah, and everybody else flew town. You know, Cruz left town. He talked about New York values, like you and I and everybody else. We know about New York values when we saw what happened with the World Trade Center and how incredible New York was. So I think he left town. I don't think he's going to come back. But I'm winning New York. I think I'll do great in New Jersey. I'll do great in Pennsylvania. I'll do great in Connecticut, Rhode Island. It's great. Maryland. I mean, you know, I've got a lot of states where they know me. The nice thing is the states that know me are the ones that I really do well in, like Florida. They know me in Florida, and I won in a landslide.
One of the knocks on you, and I know you disagree with it, is that you haven't given a lot of specifics to some of your policies. Your campaign has been saying, I think it was last week, they started saying you were going to start putting out some very specific policy pronouncements.
On tax.
You're going to be making some policy speeches in particular.
I'm going to start doing that, yes.
When is that going to start?
I did one at AIPAC about concerning Israel, and it was met with raves. You even said it was good. But I did one on, I'm going to be doing probably 10 over the next 2 months. A lot.
Do you know when the next one's going to be and what the topic is going to be?
I would say over the next week.
Do you know what the topic will be yet?
We're looking at different topics. We're looking at unity as an example. One topic I want to discuss, it might not be policy, but I want to talk about unity in the Republican Party, because I think it's very important. But we're going to be talking about the military. We're going to be talking about NATO.
You really think
you know, when I talked about NATO last week, Wolf Blitzer asked me the question, what about NATO? Now, I've been building buildings all my life and doing deals all my life, but I know about NATO, and I said it's obsolete, and we're spending too much, and everyone's ripping us off. You have 28 countries, they're ripping us off, and it's obsolete because we're looking at Soviet Union. It doesn't even exist. Russia's plenty strong, but it doesn't cover terror. And if it does cover terror, the wrong countries are in. Because
and you still say it's obsolete?
Of course it's obsolete. It was done 68 years ago, and it hasn't changed.
And
by the way, experts on NATO, they now look and they say, you know, Trump is right.
You gave an
These
interview.
are people that study it.
You gave an interview to USA Today. You talked about, you know, you're looking at possible vice presidential picks. You're obviously not going to give out any names, but you did say you would like, you named Marco Rubio, you named John Kasich, you even named Scott Walker.
No, I said they're people I like.
Right.
Here's the problem. I've beaten them very, very harshly. I mean, you know, Walker was supposed to win, and, you know, right after I started on him, he went back to Wisconsin, okay?
And he endorsed
and doesn't,
Cruz.
Of course he did. I didn't even ask him for an endorsement. How could I ask him for an endorsement? Because I was the one that got him out. Jeb Bush, the same thing. Marco, the same thing. I mean, I think they're nice people, but I can't imagine they like me too much.
So when you say you like them, were you saying you like them as potential vice presidents?
I like them as people. I like them as people. Now, could they be involved in some form in the government? Yeah, absolutely, I think they could. I don't necessarily think for vice president.
It's interesting because they are all sort of, you know, you could argue establishment-type candidates.
Yeah.
Is that whoever you would pick for a vice president, and we've talked about this before, is that what you would look for? Somebody who, with political experience on the ground in Washington, essentially a Washington player who can help you with Congress?
Yes.
That, without a doubt.
I'm a business guy. We're going to make great deals on trade. We're going to do, it's right in my wheelhouse. It's so easy for me. We're going to have a really strong military. We're going to rebuild our military. We're going to take care of health care. I'm going to do so well with so many different things. But I do want, you don't need two like me. I want to have somebody that can deal with Congress, that gets along with Congress, that's a Washington person.
Can you name one?
I do. I don't want to do that now. I think it's inappropriate. I just think it's the wrong time. I do have people in mind. I have a lot of people that, you know, look, I've been dealing in politics all my life. I know most of these politicians. I have great respect. Senator Sessions, Jeff Sessions, he endorsed me.
Right.
He was supposed to endorse Cruz. Everybody thought, you know, Cruz, I think it's his all-time, like, most respected senator. And Cruz would talk about him all the time. Senator Sessions just endorsed me. And, you know, I have a lot of respect for a lot of the politicians, but I would certainly want that to be a political position.
We're going to take a break. When we come back, questions from the audience for Mr. Trump, his wife Melania, daughters Ivanka and Tiffany, and his sons Donald Jr. and Eric. That and more in the second of 3 AC 360 Republican Family Town Halls. We'll be right back. And we are back with Donald Trump, and joining us, his wife Melania, sons Donald Jr., his daughter Kai is just jumped on the stage as well. She's 8 years old. Eric is with us, daughters Tiffany and Ivanka. Welcome. It's great to have the whole family together like this. Thanks so much. Ivanka, I got to start off with you. Congratulations on your baby. How's everything going?
Thank you. Everything's going incredibly well. So Theodore is 2 weeks old as of Sunday.
Are you sleeping through the night? Is he sleeping?
No. Not even close. Not even close. But it's a blessing. So we're very happy.
Well, congratulations. That's the most important thing. I'm just curious, when your dad, your husband, I mean, how did the conversation come up? Was there a family meeting like on the Brady Bunch, or I mean, how did he call each of you individually and say, you know, I'm going to do this time? And what did you think?
Well, I think it's such a personal decision that ultimately it was one he had to arrive to on his own. And obviously, as we've all seen over the last several months, it's a vicious industry, politics, much more so than real estate or anything we've ever experienced. So, but we were just incredibly excited for him. I mean, we know what he's capable of. We've stood by his side for the last decade in my case, a little bit longer in Don's case, and watched him do these deals at the Trump Organization, and we know what he could bring to the country. So we're just happy to support him.
He's flirted with it before. Did you think, okay, this time it's actually going to happen?
I think this time we knew it. I mean, you sensed the frustration in 2008. You sensed the frustration even more so in 2012. But I think we were young. I mean, he has a company. He actually employs tens of thousands of people whose livelihoods and whose families' well-being depend on the success of that company. So in 2008, I was 29. I'm the oldest. You know, he wasn't just going to say, okay, congratulations, here's $1 billion company, leave it with us, and, you know, hope that those people who've been so loyal to him for so many years are going to be okay. I think now we've been in the company much longer. We have these decades of experience that he can walk away and know that those people who've been so good to him for all that time, you know, are still going to be taken care of, and he can do what he wants to do for the country.
Melania, for you, were you nervous for him? Were you instantly like, yeah, let's do this?
Well, I was not nervous for him, but he was thinking about it, and I gave him a support. And I said to him, you know, you cannot just talk, you need to go and run, and people will take it serious. And if you run, you will win. And I see how people react to him before he announced it.
Tiffany, Eric, when you saw him coming down the escalator with Melania, I mean, did you have any idea that it would go on this long, that it would become what it has?
Listen, it's an amazing success story if you look at it, right? I mean, he's been in politics 9 months, and he's winning the Republican Party for president of the United States. I mean, it's really an incredible story. But, you know, to your specific question, I actually remember when you said, you know, listen, kids, I'm going to do this. I'm going to hop into the race. I want to self-fund. I want to do it for the country. I mean, this is about the country. This country has given me everything. You know, I'm going to give back. And it was actually a really powerful moment. I'll never forget that moment in the office together, you know, the four of us. And it was a special moment for us.
Tiffany, for you, what do you think?
Well, whenever my father puts his heart and soul into something, he goes full force. And when he finally decided to, you know, run for president, I think all of us knew, you know what, here we go. Like, he really just worked so hard, and we knew it would be a success. And I had no doubt in my mind that he would get as far as he has.
Ivanka, Eric, it's no surprise. I got to ask you, there was news just this week that both of you were not registered to vote in the primary. What happened?
Well, I'm an independent, and I've always voted based on the candidate as opposed to based on the party. And it was actually a very interesting experience. So we're not a family of politicians. We haven't been in politics very long. New York has one of the most onerous rules in terms of registration, and it required us to register a long time ago, almost close to a year ago. And we didn't do that. We found out about it sort of after the fact. But it was actually why I started making a series of videos to educate people in each of the individual states, because every state is different. Most states you can register as late as the day of the actual
When did you realize
primary.
you weren't going to be able to vote in the...
Around a week later.
Is that right?
Yeah, so...
Eric, how about for you?
Yeah, no, it was the same thing. I mean, we both fell into that same boat, and it was our first kind of foray into politics. We didn't realize how the whole system worked, and it was amazing. We actually made it a very big part of the campaign, and there's no one that's been more visible on the campaign than the two of us, but we made it a very big part to get that message out. You know, get out, register, go out, vote. Here's how you do it, and, you know, we gave them all the tools and everything to actually go out and figure out that process. And so it actually was a great educational process for us, and one that probably, you know, helped the campaign a lot.
And you're seeing the turnout, by the way. You're seeing so many, you know, people who are registering on the time. You see the people flipping sides to be able to vote for my father. I mean, that's pretty amazing. And if
Do you consider yourself
really cognizant
a Republican?
of getting those, yeah, I've been always.
Eric?
Very much so.
Yeah.
I'm registered in Pennsylvania as a Republican.
Okay. And Ivanka, you're still an independent?
I'm an independent.
Right. Cool. What was your reaction when you found out that they weren't going to be able to vote for you in the primary?
Well, I knew that Ivanka was independent, and I was fine with it, and I understand why she is. I mean, you know, it's hard to be thrilled with what's going on in politics, okay? Either party, if you look at what's going on. And she was an independent. She's going to switch over to be Republican, I guess, at some point, and perhaps she wants to see what's going on. But I have a feeling she'll be voting in November for me. I have a really strong...
Well, that's no question.
That's no question.
And
But
Eric
there
is
I can
actually
vote as an
switching over.
independent. So.
I wanted you to meet some of the voters here. This is Nicole Hart. She is a technical designer from here in Manhattan. She says she's leaning towards supporting you, Mr. Trump, but she's got a question for Melania.
Hi, Melania.
Hello.
Do you feel that you and Mr. Trump have raised Barron differently than he did his older children?
Well, it's a different time and different generation. And especially now, the time is different. He's not home much. He's working hard. He's on the road all the time. And I'm at home being a parent. And we are very happy when we have him home because we miss him. And yes, it's a little bit different, but kind of still the same. You know, he loves to work. He loves the country. And we see that, you know, he will do something amazing if people elect him to be a president.
Mr. Trump, do you think you're a different dad to your youngest, to Barron, than you were to your older kids?
Well, I think I appreciate it more. You know, it's very interesting with my, with all of the children. I've always been, I think, a very good father. It was always very important to me. In fact, a lot of people say, my children have done a good job, and they better keep doing a good job. But they come to me, friends of mine, very successful people, and their children have problems with drugs and problems with alcohol and problems with a lot of things. And they say, could you speak to my son? Could you speak to my daughter? I'm always very honored to do that. And I have so many friends that have asked me to do it. But I think now, as I have gotten older, I think maybe I appreciate the fact more, whereas before I was charging forward. We're still charging forward, but perhaps we appreciate life a little bit more.
This is Peggy Padovano. She works in real estate. She says her dad actually worked for your father, Fred. She says she's voting for you next Tuesday, and she's got a question for Eric.
Hi, Eric. How are you?
Hi, Peggy. How are you?
My question is, rather, it's a statement. When I was younger, I formed a very special bond with my dad through football. We used to spend countless hours together watching games. And I wanted to know, do you have a special bond with your dad, just the two of you?
Yeah. Well, I have many special bonds with my father. You know, we love work, right? It's something that really brings us together. We love building. The two of us just love machinery. We love building. We love concrete. We love jobs. And, you know, we'll sit on the phone at 6 o'clock in the morning and we'll talk about our favorite jobs. And, you know, I think that brings a lot of fun to us and a lot to the relationship. We also love golf. You know, we go out, we play golf together, and it's just something that we really enjoy. So, listen, there's a lot of things. He's got a great sense of humor. He's been the greatest father in the world. He's an amazing deal maker. You know, he's just always had so much love for us and this whole family. He's an amazing guy, one of my best friends in the entire world, maybe my best friend in the entire world. He's an amazing man, but there's really a lot that brings us together.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Peggy was saying that she worked for your dad. What was your relationship like with your dad?
It was great, and it really became much better when I hit about 20, when I graduated from the Wharton School of Finance, and I started working. But I worked with him during summers, but it was a great relationship. But
did you always know you were going to go into this business?
no, I wanted to be a baseball player. I wanted to make movies. I had a lot of different ambitions as I was growing up, but ultimately I decided I'd work for my father over the summers. I was in Cincinnati, Ohio. I worked there and different places, and I loved doing it, but ultimately when I got out of school, I said, you know, this is the right thing to do. And we were in Brooklyn. We had an office in Brooklyn, and we had buildings in Brooklyn and Queens. And I always wanted to go into Manhattan. I used to look across the river and see those big buildings, and it was something that always intrigued me. But I had a great relationship with my father, but probably even better when I worked with him.
This is Lillian Ortiz over here. She's an attorney from Suffolk County, New York. She says she's planning on voting for you, but she's got a question for Tiffany. Lillian?
Tiffany, good evening to you all. What do you most admire about your dad?
I think I've grown up seeing him as such a mentor. His hard work ethic is truly inspiring. Whenever I'm, at school studying these long hours, I see him on TV without any sleep and making these speeches, and it just makes me want to continue to work harder and prove myself, and keep on pushing to my limit.
Thank you.
Tiffany, your mom revealed just recently that you had your first job interview. I don't know that you wanted her to reveal that, but how did it go?
I think pretty well.
Were you nervous?
I think everyone's nervous graduating college, finding your first job. I think I can understand and resonate with a lot of other college graduates at this time. This is the first time you're out in the world on your own. So luckily I have a supportive family. Jared, his husband, Ivanka, and my father and my mother have been so supportive, and we'll see what happens.
What's it been like for you watching this process, watching your dad out in the political arena?
It's been amazing. I think it's a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, truly, and to be able to be, a daughter of someone that's running for the president election, it's just no one really has that opportunity. It's an education in and of itself.
Yeah. I want you to meet Arlene Tang. She's over here. She's a physician. She says she's undecided. She's got a question for you, Mr. Trump. Arlene?
Good evening, Mr. Trump. I was wondering, do you talk to your wife and children the same way that you speak at the GOP debates?
The same way?
Occasionally.
I think I'm much nicer to them. Right? I will say, you talk about the debates. I never knew about debating. My whole life has been sort of a debate, but the politicians, they debate every night, and I didn't know how that was really going to work out. And the debates, I've loved the debates. I've really had fun with them. I think I've done well with them. I guess I wouldn't be. I've been on the center stage every single debate. I've really enjoyed it, but I will tell you, I speak to my wife and children much, much differently, but it has been an interesting process. They're always saying, be nicer on the debates. I said, wait a minute, they're coming at me from all these different angles. Well, how can I be nice? But Melania in particular would say, be nicer in the debates. I said, I can't do that. I have to win first, but we'll be nice. But we've had a lot of fun.
What do you say to him? Because I think I saw, Mr. Trump, you saying on the campaign trail that both Melania and also Ivanka were telling you to be more presidential. What do you want? What would you like him? How would you like him to be different?
Just to use nice language.
Better language.
Better language.
I know you
not all the time.
You were upset when
sometimes I agree with it.
Somebody yelled out something at one of his rallies.
Correct,
I know
and he repeated.
You were upset with that.
Yes, and I was thinking, just don't repeat it, because next day the press, all what they will talk, it's about the word, an appropriate word, and that was correct. So,
Ivanka, what have you said to him about being presidential?
Well, I think one of the interesting things about this process is it's very easy to have an opinion on things, but when you're not in the arena, it's it's a different ballgame. So I've definitely said things of that kind to him, but I also then watch these debates, and it's a hard thing to observe because I see them, it's like a cage match. They're jumping on him and they're hitting him from the left, hitting him from the right. Everyone's attacking him because he's been the front runner for so long. He's the man to take down. So while I do sometimes tell him to withhold some of that sort of fire, I also understand it, and I think it's instinct, and I think it's also speaks to his passion. And I think that's ultimately what we need. I mean, you have to have tremendous stamina to get through this process. You have to have a fire and a passion. I don't think you can be particularly laid back and make it through through this whole experience from what I've observed, especially when you're competing against many very qualified people who are quite upset by the fact that you've long passed them.
You've still talked about kind of changing your tone from time to time, maybe even soon. Do you think that's actually going to happen? Because a lot of people are saying, look, you've been talking about that for a while. Sure. Maybe he's not actually capable of changing.
Oh, I'm very capable of doing it. It's easy to do it. I mean, it's easier to do it than the way I behave right now. But
so why not?
Because I have 2 more people I have to take out. And when I take them out, I will be so presidential you won't believe it. And then, of course, I'll start on Hillary, and then I'll be a little bit less presidential. But assuming I win, I will be the country will be very proud of me, and we will make America great again. You know, my whole thing is make America great again.
I haven't heard that.
It's so important to me, I know that. But it's just so important to me because we have such potential, and we're not using our potential, and we're being scoffed at and laughed at by the world, whether it's trade, whether it's paying for other countries' military and not being properly reimbursed. It's so sad what's happening to our country, and that's why we have $19 trillion in debt. It's going up to $21 trillion in debt very quickly because of the horrible budget deal that was just made. So I'll be very presidential at the right time.
This is Alan Hedrick. He's a real estate agent who says he's leaning towards supporting you. He's got a question for Ivanka. Alan?
Hi, Ivanka.
Hi.
You and Chelsea Clinton are personal friends. Has the campaign put a strain on your friendship? And with both you and Chelsea working on your prospective parents' campaigns, is there a common ground where you guys can kind of find an issue to agree on? And do you think you will still be friends with her after this election cycle?
Well, look, we're children and we love our parents, so that's the great equalizer, and that's the great common ground. So I'm incredibly proud of my father. I'm amazed and truly in awe of what he's accomplished and what he's accomplished throughout the course of his life up until this point. But you know, the last 10 months have really been a whole different level. So I think that she would probably say the same about her mother. So she's probably very proud of her mother, and we certainly would share that, I would think.
This is Mitchell Bernstein. He's an IT director from Brookhaven, New York. He says he's leaning towards supporting you. He's got a question for all of the women on the stage. Mitchell?
Yes. You're probably aware that the media's gone after your father on several occasions regarding women in general. And I was wondering how you felt about how the media's treated him, how he's presented himself, and what you can do in general to improve the relationship and to provide information about how your relationship with your father is in regards to women in general.
Well, I think the facts speak for themselves. I've witnessed these incredible female role models that he's employed in the highest executive positions at the Trump Organization my entire life. In an industry that has been dominated by men, is still dominated by men, but certainly was when he was starting out in his career and he was employing some of these women and raising them through the ranks. So, you know, for me, I think the way he raised me, the way he raised Tiffany, it's a testament to the fact that he believes in inspiring women, empowering women. He always taught me that there wasn't anything that I couldn't do if I set my mind to it, if I had deep passion, if I really unearthed what it is that I wanted to do with my life and then worked very hard to achieve it. And I don't think that's the message a father would relay to a daughter who he didn't believe had the potential to accomplish exactly what her brothers could. So, you know, for me, it's his actions speak louder than the words of many politicians who talk about gender equality, but it's not evidenced in their daily employment practices. So I think both at the Trump Organization and also in a more personal capacity, the type of father he was to a daughter, to daughters, I think evidences how he feels about our gender in general.
Tiffany?
Yeah, I think my father, since I've been a little girl, has always just inspired me and had so much faith in me to just be the best person I can be, the best woman I can be. And, you know, every time I speak to him on the phone, whether it be at school or when I'm with him in his office or, you know, in Palm Beach, it's just, he wants us to do the best, and he has the utmost faith that we can accomplish whatever we set our minds to, just as well as men, if not better. And we're such strong, hard workers. I mean, Ivanka, of course, Melania. I just truly feel that my father is the best father, the best husband that he could be, truly.
Melania, do you?
He treats everyone equally. So if you're a woman and he attacks, they attack him, he will attack back, no matter who you are. We are all human, and he treats them equal as men. So I think that's very important. He doesn't make the difference. And he encourages everybody, you're a man or a woman.
Thank you for your question. We're going to take one more short break. Back with the Trump family right after this. He's an IT director from Brookhaven, New York. He says he's leaning towards supporting you. He's got a question for all of the women on the stage. Mitchell?
Yes. You're probably aware that the media's gone after your father on several occasions regarding women in general. And I was wondering how you felt about how the media's treated him, how he's presented himself, and what you can do in general to improve the relationship and to provide information about how your relationship with your father is in regards to women in general.
Well, I think the facts speak for themselves. I have witnessed these incredible female role models that he's employed in the highest executive positions at the Trump Organization my entire life. In an industry that has been dominated by men, is still dominated by men, but certainly was when he was starting out in his career and he was employing some of these women and raising them through the ranks. So, you know, for me, I think the way he raised me, the way he raised Tiffany, it's a testament to the fact that he believes in inspiring women, empowering women. He always taught me that there wasn't anything that I couldn't do if I set my mind to it, if I had deep passion, if I really unearthed what it is that I wanted to do with my life and then worked very hard to achieve it. And I don't think that's the message a father would relay to a daughter who he didn't believe had the potential to accomplish exactly what her brothers could. So, you know, for me, it's his actions speak louder than the words of many politicians who talk about gender equality, but it's not evidenced in their daily employment practices. So I think both at the Trump Organization and also in a more personal capacity, the type of father he was to a daughter, to daughters, I think evidences how he feels about our gender in general.
Tiffany?
Yeah, I think my father, since I've been a little girl, has always just inspired me and had so much faith in me to just be the best person I can be, the best woman I can be. And, you know, every time I speak to him on the phone, whether it be at school or when I'm with him in his office or, you know, in Palm Beach, it's just, he wants us to do the best, and he has the utmost faith that we can accomplish whatever we set our minds to, just as well as men, if not better. And we're such strong, hard workers. I mean, Ivanka, of course, Melania. I just sort of truly feel that my father is the best father, the best husband that he could be, truly.
Melania, do you?
He treats everyone equally. So if you're a woman and he attacks, they attack him, he will attack back, no matter who you are. We are all human, and he treats them equal as men. So I think that's very important. He doesn't make the difference. And he encourages everybody, you're a man or a woman.
Thank you for your question. We're going to take one more short break. Back with the Trump family right after this. Back now with more questions for Donald Trump, his wife, sons, and daughters. Thanks very much for doing this. One of the questions I asked Governor Kasich and his wife yesterday about his daughters, I want to ask you, Melania, which is, do you monitor your son's social media? It's obviously a question that a lot of parents are concerned about, given, you know, all the things that go on. So do you watch your son's social media presence?
He has an iPhone. He's not on social media yet.
Okay.
He's 10 years old. I think it's too early to be on social media. He's talking about Instagram, and so I will go into it when I will think it's a right age.
It's a hard decision to make.
It's a very hard decision to make, and I grew up without social media, and it was in one way better because I see a lot of bullying is going on, and we need to protect our children. We need to watch over them.
Yeah, it seems like bullying just used to be in schools, but now because of social media, it's 24 hours a day. It reaches into the home as well.
And you don't know. You need to really check on your children and to talk with them and really have conversation with them. But it's very important to be a close parent and kind of on top of them, but still let them be who they are.
I got to ask you guys, do you monitor your dad's social media?
Possible task. I have no idea what you're talking about, Ed.
I mean, are there some days you wake up and you look at Twitter and you think, really?
It kind of makes him the person he is, honestly. It's so great to not see the sound bites, the traditional politician sound bites that you read too often. I mean, he's so authentic. He writes the tweets himself. He doesn't have a team of hundreds and hundreds of people behind him, and I think that's actually what makes him the great candidate that he is.
And more importantly, they're not vetted.
The retweets get
the retweets that get you in trouble.
The tweets are fine. The retweets sometimes get a little bit shaky.
And they're not scrubbed through like a database. I mean, that's the problem I see is so much of politics. It's, they're running focus groups on how do we word this so that we tell everyone what they want to hear, but then when it comes time to actually deliver, they do whatever the special interests are telling them to do. I mean, his is really genuine. And I think, it's that fight, it's that spirit that the American people see that is lacking in today's politician, where they just go with the wind and lead.
You don't have to retweet people. You can just let it stand.
It's interesting. I started off a number of years ago, and I now see that over the weekend I picked up like almost 100,000 people. And I have 7.6 million people there. I have almost 7.5 million people on Facebook. I have 1.5 million on Instagram. I have millions, and it's really an asset. I really enjoy doing it, but it's really an asset. You see what's going on, and there is some genius there. I mean, you will read some of the stuff. There is genius there. You have to find the right genius. But it is a powerful thing. I mean,
as president, though.
No, I wouldn't be doing it.
You wouldn't.
Or I would do it very little. I wouldn't. It's different. But right now, if I'm fighting one of my opponents, I can tweet out things or my feelings. And I had it in CNN. I mean, there was one instance where I was at a town hall and somebody got up and made a pretty negative statement about the president. You probably remember, very negative. They never found out who this guy was. I don't know, was he a setup or what? I think you know what I'm talking about. And he made a pretty negative statement about the president, and they said I didn't defend him, and it was a big deal. It was going on. And I remember I tweeted one line and then another line, and I put it out. And it broke into CNN. They broke into this major broadcast. Donald Trump, breaking news. It was like, I'm sitting there. I just did this. And it totally solved the problem. I mean, it was good. So it doesn't all work badly, but it is a modern method of communication. And, when I have 16 or 17 million people, when you add it up, it gives me a big advantage over people.
Do you write all your own tweets? And when somebody's retweeted from your account, you've retweeted
I would say yes, other than if we release some information. I have some people, Dan, and some other people that will do it. But
do you actually sit there type, or do you say something and somebody else types?
During the day, I'm in the office. I just shout it out to one of the young ladies who are tremendous. I have a tremendous office staff, and Meredith and some of the people that work for me, and I'll just shout it out and they'll do it. But during the evenings after 7 o'clock or so, I will always do it by myself.
Melania, do you ever want to say to him, put the mobile device down, that it's 2 a.m. and you're still tweeting?
If he would only listen. I did many times. And I just say, okay, do whatever you want. He's an adult. Right. He knows the consequences. And
let's meet more voters. This is Andrew Mezzaraka. He's a small business owner who says he's leaning toward voting for you, Mr. Trump. He's got a question for Donald Jr. Andrew?
Hi, you definitely got my vote.
Oh, good. That was good. That's good. Thank you.
I admire how you guys, being in the public eye, have remained well-grounded and became so successful. Compliment your father on that, and your mom, obviously. And my question is, when your parents were getting divorced, how did your father help you get through that?
Well, listen, I don't think it was an easy time. It was, obviously a difficult time to go through for any young kid. I was 12 years old, so you're at that stage in life where you think you're a man, but you're not quite. So, it was certainly a difficult thing. But I think throughout our lives, he's always been there. It's usually been on his terms. It wasn't a typical, let's go play catch in the backyard sort of father-son relationship. But we always went to job sites with him. We'd be in, his office playing with trucks as a 6-year-old while he's negotiating deals with presidents of major companies, and so he always made himself available. I remember calling from school and from boarding school and from getting home from school when we were younger, and he'd pick up the phone and say, hey, Jack Welch is in the office. Say hi, Don. And I'm sitting, he would always take it, so he was always so available. And I think because we were always present and because we always were, though on his terms at job sites, it really instilled a work ethic and a value for the business that we're in that it's what we grew up in. It's what we understood. So when it came time to start running the business and go in there, it was a very natural progression. So I always joke that, I've been working with the company for 38 years because he set that up. And it was that work ethic and that foundation that he implanted that allows us to probably do what it is that we do today. So, it's really all him.
And Eric, I saw an interview you gave, I can't remember if it was a print interview or not, where you said the divorce actually brought you closer to your siblings.
Yeah, I think that's right. I mean, Don's my best friend, Ivanka's my best friend. We're inseparable with Tiffany. I mean, we have an amazing relationship. This isn't contrived. I mean, we work together every day. We have offices right next to each other. We also vacation together. You know, Kai, I mean, she comes and she spends a weekend at my house. I mean, we watch Frozen together, right, Kai?
She insisted on sitting on my lap because she got the shy gene, obviously. Right?
Yes, apparently.
But, you know, we have a great time as a family. And, you know, I'd say the one thing that my father and mother did a great job at was actually protecting us from the media, really protecting us from the media during those times. And we grew up, and as we started getting a little bit of that iron shield, we became more visible. And now you see us by his side every single day, and it's something that we love doing because we truly love the man to death. I mean, we really love our father and our whole family.
I want you to meet Cherie Murray. She's a mother from Queens who says she's currently undecided. She's got a question for Melania. Cherie?
Thank you. Mr. Trump, you have a beautiful family. I'm a mom as well. My daughter, Shyla, and I have two sons, Abel and Jace. I wanted to know, what do you love the most about being a mom, Melania? And also, are you guys interested in having more kids?
Well, it's amazing every day. Our son is 10 years old, and everything is different. Every day it's you know, something special, and it's unconditional love. And I enjoy every day. I love being a mom. A very special time, and I'm at home and raising him, teaching him values and morals, and preparing him for adult life, because sooner or later he will have wings to fly. And I will be always there for him, but he will be very independent and ready to go.
Any more kids?
And we're not really thinking about money.
Ivanka, my mom has been pressuring me to actually have kids. What's being a mom meant to you? How has it changed you?
I think it's changed me in almost every capacity. I think it's made me a better person, a better wife. I think I'm much more empathetic once you start thinking about a bigger picture outside of yourself, which is, it's easy to be very self-centered when you're young and you're single, and obviously it started when I got married and I became a we, and then having kids brings it to a whole different level, putting them first, and they become very much the center of your universe. But
That seems exhausting.
it is, and it's exhausting, but it's really, it's the most amazing type of challenge that you really can't prepare yourself for, but is so unbelievably rewarding. So I feel so fortunate. I have 3 children now under the age of 4.5, and exhausting, but it's the perfect kind of chaos.
I want you to meet Joseph Cohen. He's a student at Columbia University. He says he's undecided. He's got a question for Ivanka. Joseph?
First, I wanted to congratulate you on the birth of your son.
Thank you.
I was wondering how your father reacted to your decision to convert to Judaism. What led you to that decision, and how did he react?
Well, it's such a personal decision. I tend not to talk about it in a public forum, but my father was very supportive. He knows me, he knows, and he trusts my judgment. When I make decisions, I make them in a well-reasoned way. I don't rush into things, so I appreciate the support he gave me, because obviously these decisions are not taken lightly, and it would have been much more hard if I had had headwinds, but he believes in me, he loves my husband, they're incredibly close, which I think was obviously helpful.
On Berman, it's Wednesday, April 13th, it's 4 a.m. in the East. Overnight, a biting, stinging back and forth between Donald Trump and the Republican National Committee, and it all started right here on CNN. Trump says the party stacked the rules against him. He made that accusation while appearing with his family in a CNN town hall. Trump said the RNC changed the rules to keep him from winning the nomination, and boy, was the RNC quick to respond. CNN politics reporter Sarah Murray has the latest.
Donald Trump making no effort to mend fences with the Republican Party last night, saying in our CNN town hall that he does not think the RNC wants him to win the nomination, and he's bashing the nominating process along the way.
You don't think the RNC wants you to get the nomination?
No, I don't think so. I really don't. I mean,
and you think they're actively working against you?
I don't know. I mean, I don't see it. It's not like I have 15 miles of proof. But certainly they should want to have a vote of the people of Colorado. The people of Colorado, I would have won. I've won so many of the votes. I mean, the voting has been phenomenal. That's why I've won so many more states than Ted Cruz and Kasich.
Now, all of this seemed to be just a bridge too far for Reince Priebus, the RNC chairman. He fired back on Twitter last night, saying nomination process known for a year and beyond. It's the responsibility of campaigns to understand it. Complaints now? Give us all a break. Meanwhile, this forum was an interesting one for Donald Trump. It was a rare moment where he was sharing the spotlight, not competing for it. He was joined by his wife, Melania, and 4 of his children, and they spoke frankly about some of the issues he's been having, particularly in terms of how he speaks to female voters. And Ivanka Trump said that she doesn't see any issue with it, and she points to how she was raised alongside her brother as proof that her father treats men and women equally.
I think the facts speak for themselves. I've witnessed these incredible female role models that he's employed in the highest executive positions at the Trump Organization my entire life. In an industry that has been dominated by men, is still dominated by men, but certainly was when he was starting out in his career and he was employing some of these women and raising them through the ranks. So, you know, for me, I think the way he raised me, the way he raised Tiffany, it's a testament to the fact that he believes in inspiring women, empowering women. He always taught me that there wasn't anything that I couldn't do.
And Donald Trump will be back on the campaign trail today, but not in New York. He's taking a quick break here from the Empire State primary, flying over to Pittsburgh for a rally, so we will see him later on this afternoon. Back to you guys.
In just hours, Ted Cruz comes to New York for his CNN town hall. Cruz has not spent much time campaigning in this state, where he's in 3rd place in 2 brand new polls. But his spokeswoman says the small events he has held have been in unlikely places with few Republicans. They're aimed at picking off a few delegates in order to block Trump from clinching the nomination. Cruz boasted about his Colorado delegate wins on Glenn Beck's radio show Tuesday, calling Trump a loser.
Donald is a very sore loser. He doesn't handle losing well, and he throws a fit. He is crying and screaming and yelling, and he insults people, and he curses at people, and he attacks people. Donald loves to call people a loser. Mm-hmm. Donald wakes up at night in cold sweats that people will call him Losin' Donald.
Tonight, Ted Cruz appears in the last of 3 CNN Republican town halls. He and his wife Heidi will both answer voter questions. That's in New York at 9 p.m. only on CNN.
A lot of the use of the word loser there in a short period of time. Wonder if we'll hear that tonight. House Speaker Paul Ryan flatly ruling out a run for the presidency of 2016, or at least trying to. Ryan has been facing increased speculation about his plans and pleas from some Republican leaders, clearly upset over the possibility that Cruz or Trump might win the nomination. They want Ryan to parachute in as the late entrant into the race, but at a Washington news conference, Ryan said, "I do not want, nor will I accept the nomination of our party."
So let me speak directly to the delegates on this. If no candidate has a majority on the first ballot, I believe that you should only choose from a person who has actually participated in the primary. Count me out.
Breaking overnight, a major endorsement for Hillary Clinton 1 week before the crucial New York primary. The New York Daily News offering Clinton heroic praise as it lays into Bernie Sanders, who many say performed poorly in an interview with the Daily News editorial board. The Daily News says New York Democrats have in Clinton a super-prepared warrior realist. They have in opponent Bernie Sanders, a fantasist who's at passionate war with reality. The latest poll of New York Democrats has Clinton well out in front, 53% to Sanders 40%. Campaigning in Manhattan, Hillary Clinton focused on pay equity for women at a Tuesday roundtable.
If talking about equal pay and paid leave and more opportunities for women and girls is playing the gender card, then deal me in.
CNN's Jeff Salini is with the Sanders campaign, and he has the latest on the Democratic race.
Hillary Clinton is back in New York today. She's campaigning once again for that New York primary next week. Now, she took a bit of a detour from the campaign trail to Florida on Tuesday, where she held 3 fundraisers to raise primary money for this campaign. She still needs to fill those coffers in this longer than expected race against Bernie Sanders. Well, Bernie Sanders took an opportunity to tell voters here in New York about how Secretary Clinton makes her money.
During the last filing period, our largest super PAC reported raising $25 million from special interests, including $15 million from Wall Street. Does anybody seriously believe that you can be an agent of change if you are taking money from the most powerful special interest in this country?
Campaign finance is just one of the many issues and differences between these two candidates. They're really going back and forth over guns, over Wall Street, over fracking, over who's prepared to be president. Now, all of this is coming to a head. Really now, this is one day before that Democratic debate in Brooklyn, their first face-to-face debate in 5 weeks. That's why it is so important here. Bernie Sanders knows he needs to turn all those big crowds he's been gathering all across the state into actual vote and supporters. That's why that debate tomorrow in Brooklyn is so important.
Now we're just a day away from the CNN Democratic presidential debate in Brooklyn. Hillary Clinton and Bernie Sanders in a critical face-off. The last time before the New York primary. That is tomorrow night at 9 p.m. Eastern, right here